I'm not talking about some like left-wing, you know, opinion shop set up by me and Adam here. It's a CBS and New York Times. From the polling data I regularly look at, and I've looked at for years, and this is still true today, and from numerous heartland, Midwestern Iowa voter contacts and conversations I had in 07 and 08 with ordinary Americans. I would look at that, ordinary Americans. You're just an ordinary. I am quite sure that a majority of U.S. citizens would agree with what Iraq occupation veteran Mark Preisner said in a remarkable speech to Iraq veterans against the war last December. And ask me later, I'll give you the link, because this is on YouTube, and it's one of the most extraordinary oratorical moments I've ever encountered online. I threw families onto the street in Iraq, Preisner said, only to come home and see families thrown onto the street in this country. I mean, Preisner said, to wake up and realize that our real enemies are not in some distant land. They're not people whose names, this is a young guy, he's just like a month back from Iraq. They're not people whose names we don't know and whose culture we don't understand. The enemy, Preisner said, is people we know very well and people we can identify. The enemy, he said, is a system that wages war when it's profitable. The enemy is the CEOs who lay us off from our jobs when it's profitable. It's the insurance companies who deny us health care when it's profitable. It's the banks who take away our homes when it's profitable. Our enemy, Preisner said, is not 5,000 miles away. I think Iraq's more than 5,000 miles away. I have one quibble with the speech. Our enemy is not 5,000 miles away. They are right here at home. If we organize with our sisters and brothers, we can stop the war, we can stop this government, and we can create a better world. And if you look this speech up online, speaking to Iraq veterans against the war, and it's not just Iraq veterans, and people just go absolutely nuts. He has to like stop just in that paragraph, like, 3 times, because it just resonates with actually exactly what people feel. I guarantee you that speech, if you went on CBS, New York Times, or Wall Street Journal, and you just read that passage, people say, do you like that? You get 70%. That's not a center-right nation. People ask me, what's the left? Listen to Mark Preisner's speech there. That's the left. The enemy is not some ordinary group of people that we've been brainwashed to think we're supposed to hate in the military. It's right here at home, and it's our own ruling class. If you read the whole thing, you use the phrase ruling class too. So, okay, it's one thing to express progressive opinions to a pollster over the phone. Me and Chomsky and I, people like us, are always studying opinions. One of the comebacks to it, well, that's great. I mean, people say all kinds of shit when they're at the privacy of their own home, talking to a pollster. You sound like bad. I'll be lost if I don't have my pen in my hand. It's another thing to see those opinions as part of a broader progressive left identity and to join with others to pursue them collectively in an organized and effective fashion, like joining the ISO or something like that. But where in the hell, and please note the anger here, where in the hell are most ordinary Americans supposed to turn to act on their populist, progressive, I would say left-leaning opinions, and to get answers and solutions in connection with their, I love this phrase in Newsweek and Time and the populist outrage, which is, of course, dysfunctional. The anger. That's a big Iowa thing, too. It's like anger issues in Iowa. I'm from Chicago, I noticed that. Not to the Democratic Party. As the campaign finance data and the insurance attorney put that out, right? As the campaign finance data and the policy record show, the Democrats right now are actually the leading establishment party doing the big Wall Street and the big corporate right now. Everyday citizens know this pretty well. I mean, the idea that Obama is pursuing some sort of left liberal agenda, for poor people, will certainly come as news to many of his supporters. Sometimes say they're disappointed, and I wrote this book, and I knew Obama from Chicago. Oh my God, why are you disappointed? That's okay. I get it that everyone's not an expert on Obama, and they want him a pilot, they want him a civil rights agency like I was in the South Side of Chicago, and the guy was coming up, knew it. Of course they do. And I saw the campaign advertising. It was all about community organizing. I could just see where people in Iowa. Plus, they're so white out here too that the race thing was interesting. I mean, if you worked in the black community like I did, you know there's all kinds of gradations of people in terms of ideology and class and socioeconomic. Why are they conservative people in the black community? There are a whole bunch of them. That was part of how people got kind of roped in here. I don't know that. I mean, of course, you did have Clarence Thomas and Condoleezza Rice to educate us a little bit about some of that. But the Democrats are the leading conservative establishment doing the beating of the ruling class right now. And if you look at that Mark Prisoner video, by the way, too, it's just as much about the Democrats as about the Republicans. He's right to do that. So the idea of Obama is some sort of, and the Democrats, but some sort of really progressive liberal agenda will come as news to a lot of Obama supporters who have become demoralized with an administration that seems a lot more interested in helping out big bankers, bailing out the rich than helping out ordinary working people. The Economic Policy Institute is a liberal think tank down in D.C. In September '09, they did a big national poll. They sampled registered voters and asked them who they thought had been helped from the policies that the administration had enacted so far. And here was the result. 13%. 13%. Less than 15%. Said the average working person. 64% identified large banks, and 54% identified Wall Street investment companies. Consistent with those findings, and this is critical, Boston Globe reporter Brian Mooney, Chomsky sent me this source, reported that Scott Brown won mainly in the affluent Massachusetts suburbs, where the voter turnout was very high. In the strongly Democratic urban areas, the turnout was much lower, reflecting Obama and the corporate Democrats' success in disillusioning and demobilizing the Democratic Party's historical working class and minority constituents. Actually, the people in majorities liked Marshall Coakley more than they liked Scott Brown, but a lot of them said, why the hell should we even bother to send her down there to that whole mess they're making? What's the point? Obama's not doing anything. Neither the rest of the Democrats down there in Washington, D.C. Many voters in traditionally Democratic cities, minority voters, working class voters, the core voting constituent of the Democratic Party, the Boston Globe reported, stayed home, dooming the candidacy of Democrat Martha Coakley. It's not what a lot of liberals around here will say, that all the working class people, like they're all reactionary, on abortion issues and gun issues and gay rights, they've all become. No, that's not really it. That's not true. Actually, voting age does not bear that out. Working class people are generally not become right wing because of cultural issues. The Tom Frank, what's the matter with Kansas City? So Larry Bartels of Princeton Political Science has actually crunched the numbers on it. It's just false. It didn't happen. It's not what's going on. But they're just not coming out for this shit anymore. And I don't think they're good in the midterm congressionals. And I really got to wonder about 2012 unless something dramatic happens. Then they stayed home, Boston Globe report. Of course they did. As even the liberal Democrat and New York Times columnist Bob Herbert noted in a column titled, "They Just Don't Get It," that they being the Democrat, the doors being slammed on the American dream, and the Democrats seem completely out of touch with the hardships that have fallen on so many. The question for Democrats, Herbert says, is whether there's anything that will wake them up to their obligation to extend a hand to ordinary Americans and help them take the government back from the big banks and the corporations. I'm not a big Bob Herbert fan, but that was a nice formulation there. I read that column. It was 2 days after the Scott Brown election in Massachusetts. Pretty good. The answer to his question, to me, is clear, however. He says, what will? The question is whether is there anything that will wake them up. There isn't. There isn't. In fact, I was digging around in my wallet for my Democratic Party voter registration card, and I lost it. I'm glad I lost it. But pretend I still had it, because if I had it, I'd do this right here. Done. Okay, pretend it's